My name is Colin Mead, and I'm an English Opens Doors program volunteer. I have a bachelor's in economics. That's my background. I had about 3 years of work experience as a financial analyst before coming to Chile. I did what's called the VS2 program volunteer, which is the full year, 2 semesters. I was placed right in the center of Santiago. I came to this program with a recommendation from a friend. It was a university friend who did this program in Iquique, highly recommended the way it's set up, the schools, the culture of Chile, and knowing that I wanted to travel to South America, this was a perfect fit. Looking back, I'm incredibly happy. I have to say that my life was really good in California. San Diego is somewhat of a paradise, and I don't regret leaving it at all. I've had an amazing experience here in Chile. Probably advice for anyone moving to another country. I came in with not too many expectations. The basic things were met. I had a Chilean host family that showed me some of the culture, and I was able to feel like a real high school teacher and teach English to students. But other than that, I try to be open to what was going to happen. So any email, super fast response. Pre-departure, because there's some questions with the visa, there's a lot of paperwork. I thought that was very helped. I don't have anything of an educational experience, so the orientation for me was very helpful. It was long, but it was the kind of in-depth pedagogy teaching that I needed. It gave me a great foundation into the kind of teaching style I could use and be effective in the classroom. So I'm very grateful for that week of orientation. Once I got going, I really felt that as much as I loved being a volunteer, I feel like I work for my school. Right? I am in Sucano, in Suco de Montado. That's my school. And so it's really up to the volunteer to integrate into the school as much as they can, to find that relationship with teachers and students. And if need be, you can reach out to the program. But I find that Chileans are a very inclusive, welcoming bunch, so the teachers pulled me in right away. So I lived with one woman. She was what we call the psicopedagoga, or the learning disability specialist, might be one way to translate it, at my school. So it was really nice at home to have someone I could ask, hey, is it really a holiday next week? And have something out of that connection with the school. Very nice woman, really hardworking. Several times we weren't able to get in contact because she was off at her other job, but every time we talked, it was really nice. Santiago Centro, I lived basically, for anyone who's an American, 10 minutes from the equivalent of the White House, La Moneda, the palace. So my walk to school, I went past a church that I think would be an amazing tourist attraction, plus the presidential monument and several other, it'd be the changing of the guard some days. So it was really incredulous for me all the time to have that sort of central experience. Santiago is wonderful public transportation. I think that's true in a lot of places in Chile, in fact. Bus system's really good, so I could travel quite a bit. In terms of community, I felt that the community I belonged to was at my school. The other teachers invited me to all sorts of events. The religion teacher, he's the one that got me all the dancing events. He taught me cueca. Music teacher would invite me to see his recitals. The business teacher, he was my football fan. We would go watch Colo Colo together. So that was the community I really felt a part of. So I did end up going to a church, kind of met some friends there. We'd play soccer sometimes on the weekends. I was somewhat of a chaperone with the religion teacher I mentioned before for the folklore dance team. Obviously, I don't have any talent for cueca beyond the basic, but I could carry all their uniforms and be an adult mentor for events. And it was really fun to see students who don't have a lot of other options because they're public school students to be able to do something extracurricular and get out of the house and have something as a team. So it was fun to be a part of that. One of the values I have is that here in Chile, even talking, they invite you to things and there's an inclusivity that's amazing and generous. But even in casual conversation, you hear the word we a lot. That they're talking about we as a family, we as a people, we as a comuna, whatever it may be. That's the kind of phrase they live. If hard things happen, we just gotta live our life and be happy. And there's a happiness here. There's complaints about corruption in politics. People get to that a lot. But I think deep down there's a happiness that's really effusive, that makes me happy and makes me want to be a part of the community. I do feel very involved in the school that I have. As a volunteer with your own classroom, you get to be the leader, right? You are a part of the English department. The head of the English department, she's my boss, but she's more a colleague. We work together, we make our lesson plans together. So I'm not totally isolated when I grab my students and and begin speaking English in a classroom. You have a lot of freedom in what kind of lessons you want, and then tailor it into the grammar that's part of the national curriculum. A lot of different things about the educational system. Punctuality is different. What kids might think is acceptable behavior in the classroom is different. But really, you're something unique. You're supposed to be different. So the idea if a student comes in shocked and not knowing what to do, fully expect that. That's going to happen. But the idea is that teachers, they care about their students. They're teachers for a reason. And so you get to be involved in pedagogy, which is something I was interested in. I didn't have that experience, and I got to see what being a teacher is like. And I mentioned before with some of the extracurricular activities you get involved in, that some of the students don't have a lot of other options. So they're really stoked to get something unique, maybe even to talk to you outside of class, to be in your class and have a different form of teaching. So it's a good experience at the school. The challenge for me is how flexible you have to be. I might arrive to school Monday morning and they'll say, oh, by the way, we're going half hours today. There's an assembly at the end of the day, all your classes are cut in half. But why didn't you tell us before? No, it's because we decided about 2 minutes ago. So that's the kind of flexibility and challenge they might face. And it goes the other direction, where you might end up with a student group for an hour and 10 minutes and need to find a way to keep the lesson plans going. So there's a fun aspect of thinking on your feet. I think it develops you personally, but it's challenging, right? You've got 20 faces staring at you and they needed your leadership. I think the most fulfilling part might not even be so specific to Chile, but being a teacher. If you have a student come in and say, oh, profe, what you taught me yesterday, I listened to in a song and it made me understand that song. And you feel that you've taught someone something. And that's super, super rewarding. You feel really good about that. I taught at a high school. You can be in either 5th to 8th grade or at a high school level. I only worked with high school kids. And a lot of them would come in saying, you know what, I don't like English at all. My previous teacher in elementary school didn't speak any English, handed me a book and said, okay, go ahead and learn. So for them, they say, oh, I have a teacher that's fun, I want to learn English now, and you're opening a whole new subject. Beyond English, but foreign language, which is really important, I feel is rewarding to me. Personally, and I really hope to take this back to the US with me, is I'm much better at sharing. There's simple things that you're out with friends and say, oh, I gotta go run to the APM. You don't just wait in the corner for them, you walk with them. There's a togetherness here that I feel is special, and there's a love that I really enjoy. The teachers at my school gave me sort of a going away celebration, and there were tears. Those are memories that I'll keep absolutely forever, and it is something truly, truly special. So that's the personal development. Professionally, I'm actually intending to enter an MBA program next fall, and I was able to conduct several of the interviews for that here in Santiago. So it was no problem to leave the country with my long-term goals in mind. And some of the things I said in my MBA interviews are the professional skills that I learned in Chile. Thinking on your feet, the presentation skills of being in front of 20 kids that need you to enunciate and present perfectly because they don't speak English 100%. And there's the difficulty of entering a new environment and achieving and doing something different. I think those are skills that are going to carry over to any career I want. But I really think the love of the other people at my school, from the direction to the teachers to the students, the way they really embraced me and were happy to have me, and they wanted to share with me, tell me things about their culture. They're always asking me things about mine. One thing we haven't talked about that's incredibly awesome about the program is the network of volunteers. You're bringing in, for my group, there were 45 of us in the VS2, as we called it. And I didn't know any of them coming in. And they're amazing friends. And they get placed all over Chile. So you have a network of people you have a weekend to travel to. You can come in, not planned ahead of time. Billy, Alex, Heather, what's up? You know, I happen to be rolling through Copiapó right now. Can we hang out? And they're people that if you're interested in this program, they're like-minded because they're interested for the same reasons. They want to teach, they want to explore, they want to grow themselves as people. And it's awesome. I'm hoping to stay in contact with as many of my friends that I've met through the program as possible. To me, the greatest lesson is sort of a lesson on happiness, and that, and regardless of your situation, there's a way to be happy. It could be your fault, you have a bad lesson plan, or for some reason the kids were given 3 cakes right before your class and it just doesn't go well. And you might have 3 bad classes in a row, but you have that one class that goes perfectly, the kids really understand, they learn English, and at the end of the day, you feel great about it. And there's a happiness. I might eat garbanzos every day for a week. Right? That's perhaps what my host family, that's what they do that week. But that they're happy about it. They're sharing. There's an enjoyment to life. And the idea is that there are good things in life and that you got to be happy about them no matter what. It's very obvious when you travel, the highs are higher and the lows are lower. But putting those two things together, I prefer that than just an even keel. I think that's an experience that's worth it. Well, I'm hoping to travel in Chile, see as much as I can of this country. I've got about 3 months before I head back to the States. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Long term, I'm a numbers guy, I love finance. I do want to get an MBA, but trying to keep it open, right? The program has taught me to be flexible. So if things change, I'm light on my toes and ready to go somewhere else. And I think this program set me in a course where I can still meet that finance career, but if not, it's still going to have fun. I would definitely say go. If you're on the fence between English opens doors and traveling to another country, I can't tell you either way. But if you're on the fence between English opens doors and staying at the same job you've had for 3-4 years, you need to leave. I think this has grown me so much as a person, and there's memories. For me, 1 week in Chile, I would create more memories than 3-4 months back in the States. All sorts of stuff. Be walking on the subway and seeing something, being invited to hang out at a friend's house doing something super casual. But for me, it was totally worth it. It does take a little bit of an independent personality because you're put into a school. And even if you are a teacher beforehand, you've never been a Chilean teacher before. So you don't have that perfect experience. You have to be willing to be independent and find things on your own, solve some problems that will come up. But that's an important skill, and there's a lot of independent people out there who would really benefit from coming to Chile. I really think someone who is independent, they like to take challenges on themselves, this is important. The program's there for support, but you're at a family that they're a family. The program's not going to know their whole history. The program's not going to know the whole history of your school. So you have to be able to be independent for that. Someone who likes to talk a lot, which I would classify myself as, is also someone who's good, because you're in front of the kids and you don't want any awkward pauses. Even if you're saying sentences that, as long as they're good English grammar, they don't have to be related. You're keeping that space filled, you're keeping their eyes on you, that's important. And then you want to talk with people in your community. You want to get to know more about where you live, the other teachers that you work with, and just talking to them will help. So a small Spanish amount before coming definitely helps, so study up, but not 100% necessary. There's a way to find a way to learn. I've got a whole list of advice, but they're usually small things about how to ride the bus or when to avoid the metro. But the most important advice is to come up with a positive attitude. Because the kids, they really have no idea what's going on when they first come into your classroom. And they want to see you smile and make themselves feel relaxed. The first contact is super important with the kids. You'll also find that there are opportunities to wander in the school and talk to kids. And they really appreciate that. You might not realize this, but for many volunteers, they don't get a chance to talk with every kid at their school. They only have class with maybe 25%, 40%. And so there are kids out there who are interested in English. And if you can find a way to talk with them, it could make their day. They'll start coming around to your class. And those are some of the kids that you'll really make the biggest progress with in terms of the English language. So I think just wandering around your community, your school, and being active is the most important part, because 8 months goes by pretty darn quick.